And I remember he just like went and loved live music with us, and it was storming and there was lightning, and he like hadn't seen lightning before, and like it freaked him out, and he was
This podcast is about you guys and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new record you have coming out, but love to hear your story and getting signed in high school and all of that.
awesome. Thank you for having us.
For sure.
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
having us.
Of course. All right. Well, let's start. I always start with where you're born and raised. You obviously went to high school together. Did you grow up in the same area? Have you known each other your whole lives? Like, where were you both born and raised?
I was born in Chicago, but moved to Kansas when I was really young. So I grew up in Overland Park, probably like 5 minutes away from Brandon, but in different elementary/middle school territories.
Okay. And Brandon, were you born in Kansas City?
Yeah, I was born in Overland Park as well. Like, 5 minutes down the street from Addie, but probably didn't bump into each other until like I was like maybe in middle school or something like that. That's the first time we met each other.
Okay.
I remember Brandon was like, my stepmom owned a boutique store, and I don't know if we've talked about this so many times, but I never know if you always vaguely remember, but
I just remember being annoying. That's about it.
He was with a bunch of his friends, and he had like very long hair, and I remember like thinking like, this kid is so spastic, he's hilarious. And that was like the first time I ever remember meeting him, but then we didn't like actually really meet until I think we were like 14 or 15.
Okay.
The first time I remember meeting you was we have a mutual friend, which is her neighbor, and I became good friends with Brendan Erickson, who was on the drum line with me in high school, and that's how we met. And I remember sitting in his garage and like you coming up, and like that was the first time that we met. And then you were like, I do music too, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, let's see what this is about.
I went to go meet you because my stepmom was like, I think you'll really like him. He models and plays guitar. And I was like, oh, okay. And I went to say hi to you.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Addie, how'd you get into music?
I honestly don't really know. Like when I was in first grade, you always get asked like, what do you want to do when you're older?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say like be a rock star, even though I had no reason to really think that. And then I remember doing like horrible YouTube covers in 6th grade. And then from there, I just kept getting more and more into it.
Okay. What was the first instrument you learned? Was it guitar?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay.
I guess technically I wanted to do guitar, but my parents made me do piano for like a year. And I had this like horrible piano teacher who smoked cigarettes every time before a lesson and would like breathe in my face while trying to get me to do stuff. And I was like,
Ash on the
hate
keyboard.
piano. Yeah, I'm like, piano's horrible.
Hopefully
and
they
then
don't hear
I finally got
this.
to do guitar.
Oh, that's so
Nah.
funny. My older son, he took piano lessons when we were in San Diego by this lady that was like a similar story. Her house was just, it was foul, and there's cats everywhere, and he's like, I hate this. Like, I never want to do piano again. So we put him in guitar lessons.
Yep.
That sounds like a
That's
piano
how it
teacher though.
goes.
Them having like
Yeah.
50 cats.
Yeah, it was like she made you like I would go and like sit on her disgusting couch and wait for him. It was horrible.
That's
Well,
hilarious.
so you got into guitar, sorry, and you started doing YouTube covers. Is that what you said?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think. I think I still have one up just because it like makes me laugh so hard. It's a Demi Lovato cover, but I wish I hadn't deleted the rest of them because they were so painful in the best
Mine
way.
are on private. That's what I did.
I want to
So
find you. I don't think I've ever seen yours.
You can activate them whenever you
can see
want.
them. Yeah. So they're there if I want to watch them. No one else can, just for my own viewing.
That's funny. How did you get into music, Brandon?
Yeah, like she was saying, I just remember being a spaz when I was younger, and like I would always like to dance a lot. Like I was always that kid that would like bust a move when I was really young, wanting to be like the center of attention or whatever. And then like I think as I grew up, and this is probably the more embarrassing part, you know the movie Drumline?
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cannon.
Oh yeah. San Diego, man. That guy's from San Diego.
yeah, hometown, repping hometown. Dude, he sold it for me. I was like, damn, Drumline like sick. So I like wanted to play percussion, and then I got into percussion and playing drums from there. And I play guitar in the Greeting Committee. So it was like me and the drummer in the band, Austin. I grew up with him. He's always been my best friend. He also played drums. And it just got to the point where I was like, all right, one of us has to move instruments. We both can't just be sitting in a basement playing drums together. We could do something more productive. So eventually I moved over to guitar.
How often, or how old were you when you started playing drums?
I think I was like in 5th grade when I started playing drums.
And then you were in drumline through high school, or no?
Yeah, I did drumline freshman and sophomore year of high school. And then once the band started getting a little bit more like busy and stuff like that, I had to drop it, unfortunately. But it was very formative years for me of learning how to like have a work ethic around music. But when we left, there was a couple of teachers that were a little bit bummed, and I think they were wishing that the band would fail.
Oh, ouch. Wow. When did you start playing guitar then?
I think 6th or 7th grade is when I started playing guitar.
Okay.
I don't know what age that is. That was like 12 or 13 or something like that.
Okay. And that's around the time that Addie heard about you or saw you?
I guess, right?
I feel like you had a guitar with you that time I saw you over by Laura's store, but I don't know.
I was probably in 8th grade, and you were probably like a freshman in high school or something.
It was around there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was probably
she said you played guitar and you
out.
were modeling. Were you modeling at this time too?
Maybe, I don't know. When I was a kid, when I was like really younger, I was like, yeah, like I think some of my cousins did modeling, so I was like, I want to do modeling.
Sure.
And then I did it, and I just hated it. And like I still have a hard time taking like press photos just for our band. So I don't know why I ever thought like modeling was a cool thing to go do, but it bought me my first drum set. So there's a cool story in that. Yeah.
That is cool. So you did the modeling gig and then were able to raise enough money to buy the drum set?
Yes, sir. Yeah. The looks pay the bills, I guess. Yeah.
That's awesome. And when did you guys link up and start playing music together?
Probably around, you were probably 14 and I was 15, right? And we did open mic nights together.
And you're in high school at this point?
Sorry, it's the loudest truck in the world going by.
All good.
I think I was a freshman. You were a sophomore. It was in high school. Yeah.
And what drew you guys together to start playing music together? You just knew each other played and we're like, hey, let's do something with this.
Like, not a lot of other people played music in the way that I was interested in. And I don't think you and I ever had like a formal conversation of like, we both want to take this on forever. I think we just kind of like knew that about one another, or maybe didn't even know that about each other, but it just kind of, it worked for us to play together.
Yeah, I think, well, my side of like, I just remember that like, yeah, there wasn't that many people playing music at our high school. So like to find someone that wanted to be in a band was very rare. And then also like, it was, this is me just profiling and just being annoying when I was like younger, but like, I'm like, oh, this like sophomore girl wants to be in a band. I'm like, all right, we're going to be doing like Jason Mraz covers and stuff like that. And then shortly when we started playing, and I'm like, okay, cool. No, we're actually into like the same style of music, and it clicked really well.
And were you both writing your own music separately and kind of came together and showed each other songs? Like, how did that relationship form?
No, like the beginning of my sophomore year of high school, I like went around and sold a CD that had like me playing and singing. I played like ukulele and piano, and it's still out there on Spotify. It also makes me laugh. But I like went around selling that, and then played these like coffee shops and open mic nights, and hated playing alone. And so from there I got Brandon. And yeah, we did just like have a lot of similarities. And I think that was probably, you know, when you're that age, I don't feel like I knew a ton of people that liked the same music I liked or were interested in the same things I was interested in.
What music were you guys interested in? Now I'm curious.
I know we bonded over like, you showed me Bombay Bicycle Club, and I loved that. Trying to think of like, that one sticks out specifically.
Yeah, I remember Bombay being a big one. I remember like probably like Arcade Fire and like Paramore and stuff like that. Like our taste grew more like together as we kept playing, but like I think it was just like, oh, we both like indie music and we both like alternative music, and like that's actually what we want to write. I think there was a lot of other people maybe doing like more pop stuff or singer-songwriter stuff, and we weren't interested in that. So I think it was like, oh, this is that other person, let's do it.
That's cool. And you guys toured with Bombay Bicycle Club. I can't speak right now.
It's okay. Yeah, we did.
Well, that must have been a huge moment for you both, being fans.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was like one of those really surreal moments for sure.
That's cool. Well, I'm curious to know how then the band got together. Were you guys called the Greeting Committee when you were doing these open mic nights?
We wrote one song. We might have written others, but there's like one song on YouTube that we wrote together that we performed at an open mic night. But a lot of it was you playing with me on the music that I had written. And the thing about the music I was writing, it wasn't like what I wanted to be writing. It was just sort of the extent of what I was capable of. And that's why I really admired Brandon, was he was bringing in what I couldn't do or felt I couldn't do by myself. And I really liked that. But no, the rest of the guys came in after we did open mic nights. I remember I was at my aunt and uncle's house over the summer, and I just was like, I want to be in a band. And so I knew to call Brandon right away. And I was like, hey, do you want to be in a band together? And he was like, sure. And then we found Austin, because Austin's Brandon's best friend. And then Pierce was another talented musician who had like another band in high school, and we stole him away.
So you guys form, and you guys get a really big start with Hands Down. The song gets played on the radio, big station, Kansas City. How did that all happen? And did you know that was like, tell me about recording that song, and was that a part of another collection of songs, and how did it get in the hands of KRBZ?
I feel like that song's like the biggest jump start that we could have ever like imagined. Like that stuff was weird at that time. I was probably like 14 or 15, like sophomore in high school. And then I remember being in our drummer's basement at the time, and it was just unfinished basement, like just like pieces of carpet on the floor, like no drywall, just like open, real kind of like a dingy little thing. And then like we hit up Peyton Merrick, who is our manager to this day. Her dad like knows how to like record and track, so we're like, hey, like would you be interested in coming over and like helping us record a track? So he was just probably like, I'm just being friendly to my daughter's friends. Set up some microphones, and we just did like live takes in there, and I think maybe you retracked your vocals over it after, I think.
Probably.
Right? Yeah, but it was just us.
I would guess
that's us live. Yeah, I think that's us live playing in this unfinished basement.
Wow.
All the way through. And then like I think you went back and probably retracked vocals over it, but it was just like all like it's not that premeditated. It was just like we just wanted to write music, and that was that first EP is like the first 4 or 5 songs we ever wrote as a band, or just even ever as like musicians. And it
got on the radio
quickly.
Like the day of us putting it out or after. Like I was reflecting on that a bit ago, just like looking at our Spotify of like, none of this I mean, I don't want to say none of this would have happened, but like Hands Down definitely gave us a door that led to a lot of other doors. But I remember I was in my driveway when Hands Down came on the radio, and I like blasted it out of my car, and I was like screaming on my way to my serving job. And I remember I was so ecstatic, and Brandon's like, no, it's not ready. No.
I was happy it was on the radio, and that was great. But when we were like putting it, like making the CDs, passing it out to the school, I was like, we need to mix this more. Like, let's not put this out. So the point of the story is I was wrong.
Dog's running around.
Was that, how did you know it was going to be played at a certain time? Like, tell me about how it got on the air originally.
We knew it was going to be on Mail Time. It's the segment. So Laszlo, who was like, he still works for the Buzz.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm come from radio. I know the station because I worked for a station in San Diego called 91X for a long time. It's an alternative station.
Oh, yeah. I think y'all have played us before. I feel like I've sent a thank you tweet.
Probably. I'm not there anymore, but I was there, and I also worked for a station in San Francisco called Live 105, or it's all 105.3 or something like that now. It switched when they got bought. But we'd always follow what Laszlo was doing in Kansas City, because he was like a tastemaker guy. Like he'd play records that like we wouldn't necessarily want to touch it, and then we'd kind of watch and see what it would do in
Yep.
Kansas City, and if it started doing something, we would like play. It was weird. It was
Yeah.
like they were always like a station we looked at when it
We
came
were
to adding
so
records.
lucky to have that, because there's like, I think it's 96.5 was one of those, and then like CD 102.5 in Columbus, I think, was another one of those, where they would sort of just like take a chance on other artists. And so we got mail time, and I guess the response to it was like really fantastic. And from there, I remember him being like, I'll sign you guys, like blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't think he had the capability of signing us, but he stepped on as our manager and got us like endless amounts of opportunities. And because he would play hands down, it would get Shazammed a lot. All right, we gotta chill. It would get Shazammed a lot.
I remember listening to him on the radio though. He was like, "Hey, everyone Shazam this song
Yeah.
right now," to boost it
Yeah.
up on like so we hit like maybe number 2, like Shazam
Wow.
worldwide or something like that.
That's
Which was such a
rad.
smart move on him. Yeah, and then
Mm-hmm.
label
That's
saw
how
that,
label
and then
saw it.
and then immediately, I think like that week, people started reaching out because of that Shazam.
Really? That's
Yeah, we
crazy
had
that
people, like,
he
in
has
our
that,
Facebook
like the power
messages.
of radio is still like, I guess that's what, 2015? I mean, that's still not that long ago.
2015, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's shifted so much though, for sure. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know if like bands have that opportunity as much anymore. I think now it's kind of transferred over to Spotify and Apple
Spotify.
Music.
Yeah, because the one plaque I have is from, I played that band, The Struts was the first one to play them in San Diego, and we kind of championed them. I played them, and then people were same reaction, and they blew up, and they got a gold record. But it's one of those things where I don't know if it would have happened now. Like if it was 2021 and they came through, like, I don't know. It's just, it's funny how it's only been what, 5-6 years, and the difference has significantly changed. I mean, it might have to do with COVID too, people at home playing instead of driving around their car, but that's so rad that he was able to just announce that, hey, Shazam this song, and it really like it worked, right?
It worked.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Yeah. We're very grateful to Laszlo for those opportunities.
Wow. And then, okay, so you get what record labels are hitting you up like, hey, what are you guys up to? And then how do you make the decision to sign with Harvest? And what does that look like as like sophomores in high school?
I thought, like, I mean, like, I still to this day think that's like one of the coolest things that's happened, is just like to have Republic Records in your Facebook messages.
Like crazy.
And of course you're like, is this a scam? But it turned out to be real. And we were flown out by Republic and Fueled by Ramen through Atlantic, but maybe we just went with all of Atlantic. And we did these like showcases, and I will never forget like one of my favorite experiences from that time. It was my first time going to New York City, which that was awesome. And of course they like pimp you out. They give you like a cool hotel room, and
right.
they give
you get to go in style. That's so rad.
Yeah. And that was so fun. But I remember we performed for Monty Lippman, and he like, they pull up this chair in the middle and he sits in it and everyone stands around him, and it's super intimidating. And so we play, we do our thing. And afterwards he comes up to us and he's like, I hope you're not planning on going to college. And I was like, ooh. And it's really cool now, like watching.
You're like, I'm not.
Yeah, you're like, I see you. But it was so
That's
cool.
the plan.
Like, now watching like the Amy Winehouse documentary, I mean, he's in that, and that's really cool to be able to say like, hey, that guy believed in me somewhat. So that was
funny that he like sat in the middle, and there's like, they want to make it intimidating. Like, like, give me a break. He kind of just like sat in the back and watched.
He probably got mind
was
games.
So yeah, it was
total
mind
game.
And then Harvest was the only label where they sent someone to us, and I think that really stood out to us, but probably even more so our parents. And they sent out Tim Anderson, who's this like insane producer, but also was an A&R at Harvest for a while. And he just like came and hang out. He came to hang out in like Peyton's basement, where we recorded a lot of the EP we released in 2015, and like hung out with us. And we went and saw I think like Meg Myers and Matt and Kim performed in downtown Kansas City that night. And I remember he just like went and loved live music with us, and it was storming, and there was lightning, and he like hadn't seen lightning before, and like it freaked him out. And he was just this like super, to this day, one of the most like genuine and authentic people I've ever met. And like, especially in the music industry, that really sticks out. And I think we all just felt cared for by him and Jacqueline Saturn, who runs Harvest and Virgin Records. And I think that was just something for us. We wouldn't have worked at a label that wasn't willing to cater to our career or our longevity, because we've grown so much from It's Not All That Bad to Dandelion, our next album we're putting out on September 24th. The growth is huge. And honestly, I was listening back to It's Not All That Bad, and I was like, oh my God, why did someone sign us off of this? And it's because of Hands Down is like probably the only reason.
Well, yeah. Sorry. Were you going to say more?
No, go ahead.
I was like, I think Harvest was definitely the right move for us. It seemed like I thought it like, we're all just like easily just like, yeah, it's Harvest. This is where we want to be. I give props to them because we're 15 years old and they're willing to sign us on these basement recordings. And what was like a big draw for us, I think, was what Addie was saying. It's like they were there to like nurture us and like let us have a career. Like where I feel like if we went somewhere else, like, we didn't get another Hands Down. All right, drop them. Let's like pump and dump. Let's go on to somebody else and try something else. But like Harvest is always just let us do our own thing. And like I give them props for, I would say 99% of the time, they tell us like nothing about like what to do with our art. And like, if we really push for something like, hey, this is what we want to do, they're like, all right, cool, we're behind it.
Wow.
They've just really let us be like the artists that we want to be, which I give them props for.
And that was intentional for Tim. I remember Tim being like, I'm going to squash you guys if I don't let you grow. He like just so knew what we needed. And that was to get there on our own and to discover that ourselves. And I think now we probably make more of the music that they were hoping. I hope that they're happy with like the trajectory and the growth. I think they are, from what I've gathered. I think
they are.
Yeah. But we're very like really organic baby steps band where I think we haven't really skipped any steps. We haven't just blown up out of nowhere. I mean, Hands Down obviously was a big success and that's helped us along the way. But definitely just like graduating venue sizes and fan bases and opportunities.
Right. I mean, you did it right. It's not like you put out a song like Hands Down wasn't some TikTok hit and then nothing happened after that. I mean, there's so many songs that you guys have put out that have millions upon millions of plays, and that speaks to the band, I would think.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like,
I don't reflect a lot.
Yeah. I think it's funny. We did like Hands Down. It's really happy. Like I do enjoy that song. I think it's a good song, but I think at that time, like we went to our next EP after that and it was just like heavy punk, like in your face music. And I'm like, and our labels are like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever you guys want to do. I think it's funny. Like other labels are like, this is not what we paid for. What are you guys doing?
Right.
I always say that the follow-up EP was the EP where I forgot how to write a chorus. And honestly, they probably should have been like, hey, but they didn't. And they kept us around. We're very lucky to have them.
Yeah.
What was it like signing to them that early? Like as being that young, I mean, like were your parents kind of weary of the whole situation or they understood what was going on?
God, the amount of times my dad's like, he's like, your talent is a cookie jar. Everyone wants to have their hand in the cookie jar. You need to be sure you don't let everyone stick their hands in that cookie jar. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. I just know that I'm getting a record deal and that's cool. I'm 15.
Right.
So he definitely would like look out for me. And I think that having Laszlo on our side, Laszlo was really intentional about who he had on our team. I think everyone on our team, maybe not anymore, well, maybe is a parent. And he did that intentionally to be like, hey, would you let your 15-year-old kid do that? So that if he needed to ever like level with somebody that was there. And I think that when you are a parent, you have a different mentality because we were kids. I think now it's a bit different. And I think that we've learned, but I'm really happy that we had it set up that way to ease everyone's minds and to make sure that we didn't put ourselves in a bad situation. And Jacqueline and Tim are parents as well.
Yeah.
Were you guys touring like that young? Like, I mean, you signed to a label, you you have this huge song. And what do? Do they go, okay, well, we need to get these, this band in front of people, but they're still in high school. Like, how did you guys manage that?
We did tours. We didn't do a really long tour until we got older.
Okay.
But we would do like 2-week runs. Our
Yeah,
teachers,
just, take your homework with you or something?
Yeah, I don't know. My teachers were, I think I was like a junior or senior. My teachers were like, you're good. You have a record deal. It's fine. Yeah. I don't know about your teachers.
I think everyone I think everyone like recognized like, oh, this is a crazy opportunity. This is not normal. So like, why should I try to squash it? So teachers were pretty lenient and they're like, just turn your work in when you get back. But yeah, we did like short tours at first. And then like, I just remember it'd be like renting a 15 passenger and then one of our parents would drive us to all the shows. Yeah. They would be like,
a lot of the time it was your mom.
Different tours. Yeah. Shout out to my mom. Yeah. She drove us around a lot. And I think she really enjoyed it. Honestly, I think she loves being a band mom. I'll be honest.
That's cool. That is cool.
But it was funny. Yeah. It was like our moms driving around us to all these venues, playing these shows in different cities, and then getting kicked out because we're underage after the shows.
Yeah. Pierce was the oldest band member though. And I would say, I don't know if, so I graduated in 2016, Pierce was 2015, and Austin and Brandon were 2017. And I don't know if I had the better position or Austin and Brandon, but Pierce had the worst position by far because there was like way more risk involved for him to choose to not go to college. But he did end up going through community college and then getting an online degree. Like he just finished getting his bachelor's. Is that all 4 years? I didn't go to college.
Yeah, but props to him. He would be like in the green room, like after shows, and like I'd be like having a drink or something, and this kid's like pounding out homework. I'm like,
oh wow,
dude, more power to you, man.
He got his college degree like literally while touring. I mean, he would sit there. I remember in between sound check and like waiting to do whatever we needed to do. He always had his headphones in or would go to a coffee shop, and I mean, he worked super hard on that. And I know that that's like a really big accomplishment that he's proud of, and we're proud of him too. That's at least cool. One of us is college educated.
I think it helped that Noah or one of our touring members was also doing the same thing, so they had like a buddy system of like turning in homework and stuff like that. It was funny.
That's funny. Were kids at your school jealous of you at all, or were they stoked for you? What was that like? Any backlash there?
I think nobody really said too much to me. People would be like, oh, that's cool, like about the band, but like we're still in high school. I think people really just cared about football a lot still.
They weren't even like really into it. Like, I mean, they were more, I guess, like coming from San Diego, people would be like, oh, like, I don't know. I think people would get torn down.
I think everyone was pretty supportive of it. But I don't know if there was like this like dramatic amount of attention necessarily. I think we all like stuck with our friend groups. Yeah. Our principal became a lot closer with me, and I think this story is funny. So he goes around and talks to people when they've had like a certain amount of absences, just to like make sure they're doing okay, check in on them. Mm-hmm. And he came around to me and he's like, he'd always be like, there's my superstar, and like shout out Mr. Bacon. I love him so much. He's the best, but he's a great principal. And he'd come around and hype me up and ask me how I'm doing and just be super proud of me. And then he'd go to Brandon and he'd be like, why are you missing so much class? And Brandon's so humble. He's like, oh, I'm in a band. And he's like, oh, you're in a band? And he's like, yeah, I'm in the Greeting Committee. And he's like, oh. And what did he say? He was like, try to be at class more or something like that. Like,
I don't even know.
He didn't even put it together.
Class.
You're like, we're the same band.
Yeah, he like has no idea.
No, I see it. Like I'm like walking down the hallways and I see him like, going up to him like my rock star, giving you hugs and whatever. And then like he pulls me out of class and he's just like, where are you? You're missing so much school. I'm like, oh, I've been like going on the road playing music. He's like, oh, like do you play like in like a symphonic band or like a jazz band or something? I'm like, no, like I play guitar in like a indie rock band. He's like, oh. And like I finally said the Greeting Committee, and he kind of connected the dots. And he's like, oh, okay. And then it's like left. But I was just like, damn, why am I not your little rock star, man?
Right, you're not his little rock star.
Brandon has this tweet that cracks me up. I like resurface it every once in a while. I think it was when we were like you were probably a sophomore, and he tweeted, if I had a nickel for every time someone asked me if I'm the guy who plays guitar with Addie Sartino, I could afford to not play with Addie Sartino. And I just think that's so funny.
That was my identity sophomore year.
That is
sorry.
so funny. So you obviously eventually graduate, and what, a couple of years later you put out the first full-length record?
Yeah, in 2018.
Okay. And
Yeah.
is that
right?
when you start doing once you're all graduated at this point, their album's out, it has Hands Down on it, and is that when you start getting these bigger tour opportunities?
I would say 2018 was around the time. I think it started, we got this tour with Jukebox the Ghost, and that was that 4 or 6 weeks long? It was somewhere around there, maybe 5.
It was somewhere around there. It was like our first like proper going out for over a month, like straight, no parents, just all the band members.
Wow,
Yeah.
what was that like?
Fun.
I would say I got to give props to like Jukebox the Ghost, because like they really like took us on, and like we're just so nice to us. The entire crew were super sweet, and like we were still young at that age. And I think a lot of other bands like we're kind of novelty, like just like, oh, nice little kids, kind of say hi, what's up, sport, how's it going, champ, and then like move on. But like Jukebox is like hanging out with us, like actually like just treating us like we were adults, and I give them a lot of props for that.
That's cool.
They were so fun and nice to be around. And then we went on another run with them that was like a 2 or 3 week run. And that was also really fun. But then from there, I mean, I think in 2019 we had a run of like, holy shit tours where it was like Bombay Bicycle Club, Rainbow Kitten Surprise, Hippocampus, like all of our favorite bands.
And then doing a headline inside of that as well.
Yeah, and our first headline run. I mean, 2019 was like a very wonderful year for touring for us. And then 2020 happened, and you're like, oh.
I was gonna say, like, do you feel like the wind kind of got pulled from your sail if you're like really progressing in 2019 and then 2020 happens and it's like, okay, well now this all kind of.
I think we're fortunate though, because like we decided that like we were not going to hit the road that year before like everything before the shit hit the fan pretty much. But like it was like we decided that we were going to sit down and just focus on writing music and try to get another album out, and that's where our main priority was. So we were like, we're going to take time off of the road, and then all of this happened. So it wasn't like a huge letdown for me, because I kind of knew we weren't going to go into touring, and I was like, I'm not happy about COVID. Like it's awful, but like it was like I could just focus all my energy on doing this one thing now of like writing an album, and that was unique for us, I feel like, at that time.
And how soon do you start? Were you writing Dandelion before the whole pandemic hit, or was it something that you guys were really able to focus on once you're stuck, in place?
We didn't start writing until the pandemic hit. We pretty much followed our plan, but we got more time, if anything. And that was really beneficial for us. I would say we're not a group that can, we need time and space to be able to write, and to be in an industry that does not like that is really difficult. And so we were very lucky to have time on our side all of a sudden.
And were you writing and sending each other tracks like over online, or how were you guys putting the songs together?
We did that for probably a month or so, and I was like miserable. It made
her very sad.
Yeah, I mean, I did not connect with that at all. I think it was nice to stockpile by the time we did get together. I think there were a lot of benefits of that. I think that, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of thrive, right, getting to do demos and whatnot by yourself, or get ideas out.
It was like getting in the gym, idea out, like getting in mindset and being able to like work creatively. So it was nice for that, but it definitely is like, man, sending stuff over Dropbox, you're just making the timeline of like creating an actual song like 4 times longer and way more frustrating. So it was nice to get in the room together.
I don't think we did create a song.
Going. We actually did pull, like, I think we did pull some ideas though of like from that time of everyone doing their own stuff, and then turn them into full songs later on. But yeah, it was interesting. I kind of liked it. I feel like we had different chapters of writing this album, of like the on your own in your bedroom, then we had like sessions in my bedroom, and then there was like sessions when we went down to my parents had like a lake house, so we like went and quarantined down there together, and that was like a couple songs. And then there's Pierce's basement.
It was tedious.
And then there's our studio stuff. But it's like funny because it's like I like when I hear those songs, I think back to like where we were when we were writing them. So it was like it felt like we had different chapters of like writing out the album.
I don't know how you felt, but like I never felt like it wasn't feel like writing this album wasn't rewarding until we got to LA to actually record. I feel like it was so like I don't know how I feel. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do I like this? I think I like this. Why do I feel weird about it? And I think it was just because it was so difficult.
It was for me, it was like you had certain days where you're like, yes, I got something. And like I would be happy to like get in my car and listen to the bounce on the way home or something like that. But yeah, I would say that this album was not easy to write, and it was like not in a bad way, but it was like a struggle of like we would do something like we ever done this or something, and like there's just so many ideas floating around that it was hard to pinpoint exactly what we wanted to do.
We pushed ourselves, I would say, the hardest we ever have too. And I like that, and I think it was like totally worth it.
We made it like a 9 to 5 where it was like, all right, these days we show up every time this week, and like we made it like a job where it wasn't like casually writing. It was like we showed up and we're gonna, even if we didn't have any ideas or we didn't want to be around each other, it was like show up and like write and make this happen. And I think we did a good job.
And did you guys take this collection? You talked about recording in LA. Was it something that you had a bunch of demos and you're like, okay, we know the songs are going to go like this, and let's go record in LA? And why did you choose to do that?
The producer we worked with for Dandelion is Jen Decilveo. And it was our first time actually ever getting to do pre-production, which was really awesome. And so I don't know how it works for other bands and other artists, but I feel like we maybe almost overdo the demo process. And to me, I felt like we underdid it this time around. And that was like really difficult for me because I didn't feel like I could attach to anything as easily. But I'm glad we do that because it does make it so that when we get to the studio, there is some time for exploration. And we picked, LA was just Jen's turf. And the engineer that she likes to work with, his name's Andrew Lappin. He made it so easy and enjoyable for sure.
That's awesome. And you said that the songs are kind of written in
easy record to record.
Easy record to record, you said?
Sorry.
Because the songs are...
Sorry, I didn't interrupt. Yeah, I was just saying easy to record.
That's awesome. And so the records, when do you wrap the record up? When did you finish your recording in LA?
Around April 13th. I don't know why I remember that so well. I think it's because my birthday was like a few days later and I wanted to be home for my birthday. But yeah, like sometime around mid-April. It was such a quick process. And to be able to start recording in the end of March and then to like have your first single come out in June is really difficult and like doesn't ever happen really. But thankfully the label was like, no, you need to get music out. Like, let's do this. And for like Andrew, Jen, and then Dave Fridmann, who mixed our record along with his son, Michael, for them to all be so quick was like really amazing. And the mixing process went by the quickest it's ever gone by because Dave works with you through this application online where you're basically mixing in real time. And then he bounces to you and you live with it. And then you go back on the phone again and do it together.
Oh, wow. So you're able to do it virtually.
Yeah. And now I don't ever want to go back to doing it another way because it's so unnecessary with this like technology. It makes it so much easier.
That's cool. That's really cool. And the record's coming out September 24th, which is the day after my birthday.
Yay. Okay. I'll remember that that's your birthday. September 23rd is your birthday. Got it.
Yeah. And do you have any plans for the record release? I saw you have a couple shows coming up.
We do have some shows coming up. I think we might do some sort of a celebration in Kansas City just because we love our hometown so much and have really grown like a community here. I really notice when certain fans are at hometown shows and when they're not because they feel like friends to a certain degree. So I think we'll maybe try to do something celebratory here, but I don't know what that looks like. And with the world being so uncertain, who knows?
Yeah, you're playing on what, like a week next Saturday, right? Minnesota.
Oh yeah. Minnesota State Fair.
We got to rehearse.
Have you guys played a show yet since the pandemic?
We played a show on August 7th, and I wore a hazmat suit to stage dive, and it was awesome. It was so great to be back.
That's so rad.
Yeah, it was really funny.
That is awesome. Was that your first show back?
Mm-hmm. First real, I don't want to say real show, first full band set. Brandon and I did a couple of like stripped down sets, but that's super different for us than our full set.
What was it like playing back together for the first time?
It's like,
how'd you feel?
It's like weird. It's like, I don't know. It almost feels like a second life. Like it's almost has gone by now, and like coming back to it, you're like, oh yeah, this is something that I do, and I do pretty well. Mm-hmm. So it was like kind of getting on like a bike again that you haven't ridden in a long time. But it's just a lot of fun. I can't wait though to play like more shows, because I think like first show back is almost like you're still in your head. Mm-hmm. You're still thinking about like the different changes, like, oh, we have a transition here, or I have to hit this guitar pedal here. I like it when we're on the road, and then like you're maybe like 2 weeks in, and then like you just get lost, or you can just like walk on the stage and your brain just goes on autopilot, and it just feels like you're in a flow state. I enjoy that, so I'm like really excited to get back to that, and hopefully that does happen. But it was great to be on stage again.
Yeah, I felt like I like came back into my body. It was so nice. I didn't realize going into the pandemic, I didn't realize how much of my self-esteem is attached to performing, and not necessarily like the public validation of a crowd, but just doing something you feel like you do well and exercising that over and over again. I really felt lost for a few months there. And then I got really comfortable, and like I've really enjoyed getting to be at home and to be with my family, and it's really nice to not feel like you're missing out on things. And touring can be fairly exhausting. And I always say like it doesn't make sense for me to be an artist, because I don't really like the studio. I don't love songwriting. I don't love tour, but I love performing so much that it like the rest of it is whatever to me. Like I will pick performing over anything just because it feels right. So I was really happy to be back. But yeah, I mean, I tripped over my own feet a couple times, and like I was rusty, but it felt good.
Did you play the full show in a hazmat suit?
You can feel the rest a little bit.
No, oh my gosh, that would have been hot. The second I put it on, I was like, oh my God, I'm dying in this.
Oh, okay.
Just like trapped all the sweat.
That's so funny. That's a great idea though. Are you bringing it out again in St. Paul?
I don't know. I'm kind of scared to like get on everyone again. I'm like, I feel like I'm just like testing this and like really playing with like fate here. I mean, I wore a mask, I'm vaccinated, and I had the hazmat suit, but we'll see. I don't know. I might have to bust it out again. I'll say it was more for humor than it was for like safety.
Precautions.
I mean, it's like a $6 hazmat suit from Amazon. I'm sure it's not doing much, but
right. But that's still funny. And that's awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear the rest of the record. You've got 2 songs from the album out. And the video you just put out as well for the most recent song, correct? For Float?
The Float Away song, yeah. That video's been out for a little bit now, and it's a really fun animated video.
Very cool. And thank you both so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it.
I have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
You'll never be ready. That's mine.
Mine is listen to as much as possible and different music, and then just be as authentic to yourself as you can.
I don't know if it cut out for Adam, but for me, that was all like so.
It was jumbled. You mind saying that again, Brandon?
That was like full robot. That's hilarious. So you kind of should leave that in there for the advice. It's just like figure it out.
Exactly. That's it. Figure it out.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that.